The NFL trade deadline is rapidly approaching, so we are here to discuss some of the key NFL trade rumor updates that came in from Ian Rapoport. We'll also mention the Maxx Crosby stuff here later on in this video. It has been, as of filming, pretty quiet since we had the day of the Joe Flacco trade and everything else that went on that day. How many NFL trades will happen before the NFL trade deadline? Let me know in the comments section of today's show how many trades end up happening here before the NFL trade deadline. Let's go to what Ian Rapoport had to say on the trade rumors that exist out there across the NFL. We're going to begin with what he said on Jeffery Simmons, saying seemingly everyone called the Titans to see if the star defensive tackle was available ahead of the league's November 4th trade deadline. Those interested were told clearly that Simmons is not available. Simmons, just 28 years old with 2 years left on his contract, is likely going to get a massive extension this offseason in Tennessee, as he is among the pieces to build around for the future, along with rookie Cam Ward and some others. For example, not mentioned by Rap, but like a Peter Skoronski, a Tavondre Sweat, etc. I do think that, like, from the Titans' perspective, if you want to have a good piece on defense who's still fairly young, holding on to him makes some sense. And that also makes a ton of sense for other NFL franchises to call Tennessee when you get a bunch of chaos and turnover. That's what smart teams do. That's what good GMs do. Like, hey, can we take advantage of the turmoil and get a really good player on our hands? So I am not surprised teams called. I am not overly surprised the Titans, at least for now, are saying they're not going to trade Jeffery Simmons. I think that's at least one to monitor until the extension happens. And then once it happens, no, but until then, I think it is worth monitoring. So what do you think the Titans should do with Jeffery Simmons? T for trade, K for keep. If you want to just root for your favorite team to get Jeffery Simmons, I get that as well. Let me know in the comments, T for trade or K for keep. Some additional Titans trade candidates specifically mentioned by Rapoport. Roger McCreary, who I like. He's getting due for a new contract in the near future. He's a little bit undersized. He's not going to fit every team, but I liked him quite a bit coming out of Auburn. I think he can be a starting caliber nickel corner for you in an NFL team. And if you don't mind the arm length, you can try him on the outside some too. Arden Key and Draymond Jones, edge rushers, veteran players who, if you want a dude at edge, this is not their guy. But if you're looking for a third edge, or if you're a team like the Niners, for example, and you're desperate for help, those are names to certainly consider calling. Let's go to the Cowboys. A, what Rapoport said on their plans, and B, the Maxx Crosby trade chaos that developed today. Jerry Jones has said repeatedly he's open for business. He wants teams to call them, but Rapoport says that right now those have been exploratory at best, i.e. the Cowboys are not the one making a bunch of calls. And that's pretty standard business procedure for the Dallas Cowboys, that this is a franchise that they don't believe in making the call first because, that puts them in a negative spot. Although at times they will still make that first call. The report earlier this morning from Trey Wingo was that the Cowboys have made inquiries with the Raiders about a potential trade for Maxx Crosby. Since then, other Cowboys reporters, for example, Clarence Hill, have debunked that, saying the Cowboys did not call. And then very briefly, the People's Insider, Slick Rick, a.k.a. Ricky Scoops, made his return to social media and then again deactivated like 15 minutes later, says that the Raiders are not going to be trading Maxx Crosby before the deadline. I think the biggest thing here is any Crosby trade, hypothetically, would be extremely expensive. He's under contract for like 5 more years with the Raiders, or including this year. They don't need to trade him. He's got the Raiders tattooed on him. I don't think the Raiders want to move Maxx Crosby. Now, that could change in a year or 2 years or whatever if the Raiders continue to lose games, but I've never really thought a midseason trade of Maxx Crosby was all that likely. Now, today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. It is simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Get your picks right, you could cash in. One football Sunday prize picks lineup. Saquon, how about more than a touchdown? We get the revenge game going again there, and doubly for the entire team, frankly. Revenge game, Aaron Rodgers, more than passing yards. Jordan Love, more than passing attempts after we watched Joe Flacco have a lot of success through the air against that Steelers defense. PrizePicks also offers stacks. Pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. If you want to pick more than on, say, Josh Allen passing yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, you can do it on PrizePicks. You can even do the flex play instead of the power play. The flex play doesn't pay out as much, but it does allow you to get one wrong and still cash out. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Let's move to the Dolphins' plans here. What are they thinking about doing? I will make note, the Rapoport article came before Sunday's game, which only makes it more likely that they're going to sell this year. Let's begin with Jaylen Waddle. Rap saying teams have called Miami about Jaylen Waddle, but the Dolphins do not want to trade him. I think that is understandable. He's young. He's talented. There might be a new quarterback coming down the pipeline for the Miami Dolphins. So trading away your best receiver when you're almost assuredly going to move on from Tyreek Hill this offseason might not be how they want to handle business. I do, again, get why teams are calling. But it wasn't as productive last year. The production has dipped. The offense in general hasn't been as good, but I do think Waddle was one of the better receiver 2s or 1Bs, if you want to put it that way, with other guys like Jordan Addison, Pickens, T. Higgins all fit in that mold. Waddle's damn good. Specific trade candidates mentioned by Rap include 3 different edge rushers: Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and Matthew Judon. I would be a little bit surprised if at least one of these guys was not moved. Bradley Chubb was recently extended by the Miami Dolphins. There isn't a lot of salary cap savings for the Dolphins to pursue Chubb, or a Chubb trade. He's also under contract for several more years. They could wait on that one, but he is getting up there in age, so maybe they want to capitalize now. I wouldn't sleep on a Jalen Phillips trade. He's in his 5th-year option. He's a little bit expensive right now. There's also the pressure rate is pretty solid and has been impactful, and you wonder, is this guy going to continue to kind of, put up some big-time numbers on that front? I would not be shocked if a Jalen Phillips trade ends up happening, and he puts up 5 sacks with his new team once he gets dealt. That actually wouldn't surprise me at all. If I'm a team like the Niners, I'm calling about him. Matthew Judon is a veteran player, but he was unsigned for a while. I'd be a little bit surprised if he fetched more than a late day 3 pick or a day 3 pick swap. So of these 3 guys, which a Judon trade makes a ton of sense for Miami, but is there interest? Who is most likely to be traded by the Dolphins? BC for Bradley Chubb, JP for Jalen Phillips, MJ for Matthew Judon. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Let's get to the Jets. Hey, looking at teams that are bad and are selling. That certainly makes some sense, right? A couple different trade candidates mentioned by Ian Rapoport. Breece Hall is first up here. That is the Jets running back, which, if you want to stock up on Isaiah Davis fantasy stock, might not be the worst idea to do it early there. Hall's been, I think, solid this year. The success rate's a bit inconsistent. He's had some big-time runs, but, he's on pace to get to 1,000 yards this year. I remember the 2 years ago when the Jets thought they got him there and didn't do the math right because that organization is, it's the Jets. And not to be mean, but that is how it goes there. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets dealt. Michael Carter, the cornerback, mentioned by Rapoport. They made the trade for, I'm drawing a blank on the guy. The trade they made with the Titans, which was kind of interesting. But Carter's the nickel corner. Jarvis Brownlee Jr., thank you, Bruce Raiden, could be taken over long-term at nickel. They can get something back for him, knowing he's a bit banged up right now. That actually does make some sense for a selling team. The big name to monitor here is Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher, who I like a lot. Jordan Schultz mentioning that teams are monitoring him as well. Pretty Ricky mentioning the Jets could be shopping him. Banged up a lot in 2024, only played 2 games. Seemed like he had that breakout campaign in 2023. He's under contract next year at a fairly reasonable, about $13 million. If you're a team in the market for an edge rusher, this is a really intriguing name to keep an eye out for because he's pretty much cheaper and under more team control than Jalen Phillips. I think this is a name to certainly monitor as we move forward closer to the trade deadline. If you want more NFL trade deadline content, you've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. Free NFL YouTube videos and NBA stuff too, and college football every single day. Jakobi Meyers trade. This one I don't think is going to be a surprise to anybody if it ends up happening. Rapoport mentioning Meyers again. He requested a trade back in the offseason. He was, and I'm going to read this off verbatim because it just came across the wire here, on if he wants to be traded. Oh, for sure. I'm a professional at the end of the day. I'm just trying to play good football. But he does still want to be traded, which isn't a surprise. The Raiders are bad. And this player does not have the same allegiance that, say, a Maxx Crosby potentially has. So I think a team like the Steelers, a team like the Patriots in a reunion, a team that is in the market for more wide receiver help. I don't know if Denver would do an intra-division trade, but any of those teams certainly makes sense for probably one of the more available wide receivers at the deadline. So name a player who you think ends up getting traded. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. We mentioned wide receiver, and I would not be surprised if the Steelers we have nothing else available. It's just Allen Lazard, with Aaron Rodgers, of course. The Steelers wanting a wide receiver should surprise nobody. They've been in the market before the DK Metcalf trade, and then again when they traded away George Pickens. They want another wide receiver. I think Meyers could be a pretty fun fit as well. He's actually inside-outside flex, which helps you if you're going to do a bunch of multi-tight end personnel. I would not be surprised if the Steelers could find a wide receiver. I'd be calling about Meyers if I were them. The Ravens are in the market for defensive help, per Rapoport. I don't think Baltimore is out in terms of trying to compete. They did do the Odafe Oweh, Alohi Gilman trade, which was super interesting, but I think a big part of that, which is again, they've done this. Man, we got to get Kyle Hamilton back in the nickel. They keep on doing that. They were getting some not good play out of their nickel corner options, and by trading for Alohi Gilman, it allows them to run Gilman and Malachi Starks at safety, and it gets Marlon Humphrey out of the nickel corner spot, allows him to play with Nate Wiggins on the outside. Jair Alexander, the Chidobe Awuzie combo, hasn't been what I think those teams were hoping for. Or those players, I should say, were even hoping for. So I would not be surprised if they pursue, maybe they go find a front seven player to help them out. And then there's the Anthony Jennings trade possibility, which this one felt like the Patriots asking Rap to put his name out there. He had 7 tackles this year. He hasn't been overly impactful. He's 2 years removed from being a good run-setting base edge. Yeah, if he's your third or fourth edge, it's probably fine. Again, I keep mentioning them. The Niners are so decimated by injuries, they could make some sense. But it seemed like the Ravens or the Cowboys were maybe they don't need a guy, they need the guy. Maybe aren't as intriguing.